All right, hello again and welcome to another episode of Bet the Beach Live. My name is Chris the Turk. Happy you guys could join us here tonight. Got a bunch of good stuff to talk about. I think the focus of tonight's episode is going to be a little bit of a larger, kind of a broader perspective, but as it relates to the Newport Elite 16, which we just watched over the course of the last weekend. The first event to take place, the first Beach Pro Tour event to take place on U.S. soil since 2018. 7 years since the FIVB and the Beach Pro Tour has hosted an event on U.S. soil, and it was just absolutely full of storylines. So if you want to hop in, chat, please feel free to do so. Hop in the chat or give us a call, 978-254-1707. We'll have the phone lines open for you throughout the night if you want to talk some beach volleyball. But if you were following along on social media all weekend long, and if you were following along with the Newport Elite, you certainly probably by now know some of the major storylines. First off, we'll start on the women's side. It ended up being Brazil versus USA round 3, as we expected. João Pessoa, a few weeks ago in Brazil, probably 4 weeks ago now at this point. Brazil versus USA. Brazil and USA end up the dominant in the final results. Kelly Cheng, Molly Shaw end up taking gold. Therese Cannon, Megan Kraft end up taking silver. So you have an all-USA gold medal match, and then it's Brazil's top 3 teams after that in João Pessoa, AP and Duda, Rebecca and Carol, Tamela and Victoria, rounding out the top 5 there, along with several European teams. Then we go to Rio, and the score gets flipped. Brazil ends up in the gold medal match. Rebecca and Carol versus Tamela and Victoria. Rebecca and Carol get their gold medal there. Therese and Megan end up taking a 3rd. Kelly and Molly end up taking a 4th. So we looked at the Newport Beach Elite 16 a couple weeks ago on this program. And then again last week with Rosie from Pro Volleyball News. If you missed that, make sure you go back and check that out. Awesome interview last week with Rosie from Pro Volleyball News, talking all things beach volley. And at the time we said, really this is shaping up to be USA versus Brazil round 3. And the top, I believe, 7 teams in the tournament were either USA or Brazil. And then when you look at the final standings, it panned out that way as well. So a field that on the men's side in Newport was a little lacking. You didn't have Molen Saram. Amman and Helvig pulled out late. You didn't have the Netherlands. You didn't have Czechia. So some of the best European teams on the men's side you did not have making the trip out to Newport Beach. But on the women's side, you certainly did. Teams you were missing in Newport, Mel and Brandy, Anouk and Zoe from Switzerland, and a couple other teams there, strong, top of the pack. Valentina and Orsi Toth from Italy. But for the most part, you had a very, very strong field headed to Newport Beach. And that was headlined by Brazil and the USA. Well, the results were exactly as you would have expected. TKN, Taryn Brasher, Kristen Nuss taking another gold medal. And this time, in the gold medal match, going up against Lexi and Julia. Lexi and Julia scoring a huge finish, their best finish as a partnership in an elite, a silver medal. Lexi and Julia capping off, maybe not capping off, but I guess adding to what has already been a breakout season for them. After winning the AVP League, they then go to the Beach Pro Tour event on their home soil, end up taking a 2nd place, their best result so far, by a pretty wide margin there. AP and Duda take a 3rd, Therese and Megan take a 4th, Rebecca and Carol take a 5th, Mel and Victoria take a 5th, and you have Haley and Molly also taking a 5th, Kelly Cheng, Molly Shaw taking a 5th. So the storyline on the women's side, Brazil, USA, by a wide margin, still the 2 strongest federations in the women's side internationally. And where you have, on the men's side, only 2 teams for the USA qualifying, and we'll get there in a few minutes. On the women's side, it's those 4 teams that we just talked about. It's TKN at the top, and then it's a major step down to, major is probably not, how do we want to say that? I guess major is probably the right way to say that because TKN are leaps and bounds above the rest of them, but Therese and Megan are knocking on that door, Kelly and Molly knocking on that door, and now Lexi and Julia in that conversation as well. So where on the women's side, you have a deep federation and you have more teams knocking on that door, and we'll get to one of the major storylines here in a minute, the debut of Sara Hughes and Allie Battenhorst. a debut that was, I would say, surprising to most, and not in the respect of that we didn't expect them to be good. It's just we didn't expect them to be this good this early. So the first storyline for me coming out of the tournament was just the results from Brazil and the USA. And really, it's on the women's side, the federation just keeps getting deeper and deeper and deeper. And where a couple of years ago, I would say Brazil had a little more depth, I would say now USA has got the more depth on the women's side, and it's only getting deeper and deeper and deeper. And with this new potential of having Ali Battenhorst and Sara Hughes knocking on the door, I think that that only can continue to get deeper for the USA and look to be a contender as we start turning our attention towards 2028, the Los Angeles Olympics. But we're a long way away from that. We got a lot of years of good beach volleyball before we get there. Olympic qualification doesn't even start for another 15 or so months. So up next, it's all eyes on World Championships. And then we start turning our attention to the AVP League season number 2, as that schedule is going to be coming out here in a few weeks. A reminder, you can give us a call anytime you'd like, 978-254-1707. Also, please feel free to hop in the chat. Give me your thoughts on what you saw on Newport Beach. If you had an opportunity to listen to Sandcast today, Try and Travis talking about the turnout at Newport Beach. Lackluster. So Travis goes to a lot of these events. He's one of the primary commentators for VBTV. So he's been to Stade this year. He's been to Ostrava. He's been to a lot of these major events, saying, at least for Wednesday and Thursday, the turnout at Newport Beach was by a pretty wide margin the most disappointing turnout of any tournament so far this year. And the question is, in the birthplace of beach volleyball, Southern California, USA, on the coast, late summer, why is the turnout so bad? And that's something I think over the course of the next year or two, I think we need to really start taking a tough look at the state of beach volleyball here in the United States. And for us beach volleyball fans, because if you're watching this program, I know you're a super fan. For myself, I'm certainly that. And we only want to hope the sport can grow and continue to succeed. And from the United States perspective, having events in the United States is a big deal. You saw the home court advantage, the home sand advantage that we had all weekend long. Bringing some of the best players in the world to the sands of the United States is a big deal for marketing the sport, for growing the sport. You had Sharif and Ahmed, you had Evandro and Arthur in just a high-flying, explosive men's final. That kind of volleyball, put that in front of a casual fan, that's how you're going to grow the game. And in order to entice the FIVB and the Beach Pro Tour to come back to the USA, you need to show up for these kind of events. And for Travis to say that it was a disappointing turnout, for Travis to say that it was the worst that he had seen all year in an elite event, disappointing, I would say, for me. But then again, I wasn't there, so I can't shame any of those that didn't participate. One thing I would say on that is don't announce it like 6 weeks before. Maybe at the beginning of the year, put it on your schedule. That's one thing that, whether it's the FIVB, Beach Pro Tour, the AVP, one thing we need to do better, people, is coming up with some consistency and then communicating it better. And I have a really interesting conversation coming up next week with a Beach Pro. Plays both on the AVP and the Beach Pro Tour. I won't tell you who it is yet, but I want you to stay tuned. Next Wednesday, that would be October 22nd, 9 p.m., right here on YouTube, right where you're getting this. I want you to tune back in right here on YouTube. An interview, a conversation with a Beach Pro. And him and I talked about, there you go, I give you a hint, it's a male. Him and I talked about the communication in beach volleyball, and the communication needing to improve to the players, the communication needing to improve to the fans. That very much relates to the AVP League season number 2, and we're hoping for number 3. And same thing for Beach Pro Tour. You know, to schedule an event like Newport and only about a month out, you're not giving people a lot of opportunity to cross the country to schedule a trip and go see it. And these things got to be consistent too. I mean, you know that July 4th weekend, that's Stade. That's just the way it is. You set your watch to it. You know the second weekend, or the second to last weekend in August, third to last weekend in August, you know it's the NBO. You know Labor Day weekend, that's in Chicago. These are things that people can schedule around. And where the AVP is just kind of starting to get going with this league concept, that's going to take some time. The Beach Pro Tour, if it's going to start hosting events in the United States, some consistency has to come there. So on the women's side, Brazil versus USA, TKN getting another gold medal. So here's the thing I'll say about TKN. It's something that's, I think we need to have a long, serious conversation about TKN. 3 events in the United States in 2025, 3 tournaments on U.S. soil. That would be the Huntington Beach Open, that would be the Manhattan Beach Open, and that would be the Newport Beach Elite 16. TKN won all 3 of those events. To my knowledge, TKN didn't drop a match in all 3 of those events, undefeated in those 3 events. I said this a couple weeks ago, and I'll say it again because I think you all need to hear it, and I think you need to hear it again. The 2 biggest tournaments in the world, Olympics and World Champs not included, are Stade on the international circuit, the Beach Pro Tour, and in my mind, the Manhattan Beach Open. 2025 champions of both of those, Taryn Brasher, Kristen Nuss. Stade and Manhattan Beach. 2024 champions of both of those, Stade, Manhattan Beach, Taryn Brasher, and Kristen Nuss. They've won both of the most important tournaments 2 years in a row. They won every single tournament on U.S. soil. They are the best team in the world, in my opinion. And I heard a conversation earlier today on that Sandcast podcast. I recommend you go check it out because yours truly got featured in a couple of questions. Travis and tried doing me a solid and answering a few of my questions live on air. And Travis's take was that Kelly Chang is the best player in the world. And Travis is citing, and it's a good thing to bring up, the fact that Kelly now, in the era of elites and challenges, which dates back to post-Tokyo, so that'd be 2022, spring of 2022, January-ish. So we got 4 years now, 22, 23, 24, 25, 4 years of data here. Kelly is the only player in the world to win an elite event, get a gold with 4 different partners. So that's Sara Sponsel, that is Betsy Flint, that is Sarah Hughes, and now Molly Shaw. So Travis's take there is for a person to do that with 4 different partners gives you a sense of the quality of the individual. And certainly not taking anything away from Kelly Chang in this argument. Kelly has been spectacular, and she continues to be. And Molly's done a great job in stepping her game up, but Kelly certainly supports these teammates. And Kelly's been to 2 straight Olympics with 2 different partners. And if you're putting odds on individuals to qualify for the Olympics, she's pretty high up on your list to qualify again in 2028. But I say all that to say this. If you tell me that Kelly Chang is the best player in the world, I'm going to tell you that she's not even the best player in the USA. And for me, that's Kristen Nuss, number 1 with a bullet, without a question for me. For what she's been able to do over the course of the last 6 years now, and Taryn Brasher is great, don't get me wrong. That's a good, formidable block. Taryn Brasher has gotten better and better. She's spectacular. Kristen Nuss, in my mind, and I'm not even going to use the stupid expression there, pound for pound, because that's minimizing what Kristen Nuss has been able to do. For my money, give me Kristen Nuss before you give me any other United States player. Kristen Nuss has been spectacular. And if you're talking odds to qualify for any tournament, odds to win any tournament over the next 4 or 5 years, I'm taking whatever team Kristen Nuss is on. And I think also in that conversation has to be Duda, the aforementioned Duda. Anna Patrice has got to be in that conversation. And I agree, Kelly Chang is in that conversation, but for me it's Kristen Nuss. So I say all that to say this. You got to give TKN their flowers. TKN has been absolutely spectacular. They've been dominant. They've continued to get better, and they are an absolute pleasure to watch, and congratulations to them for winning the Newport Elite and continuing on a run of success that has been, you can't say unprecedented, because Misty and Carrie did something over the course of about 6, 7, 8 years that probably nobody's ever going to touch. But them aside, I think TKN is putting themselves in a pretty rarefied era. So congratulations to TKN there. The other story for me on the women's side from Newport, besides Brazil, besides USA, besides all that, was the debut of Sarah Hughes and Allie Batenhorst. And if you follow Bet the Beach on socials, we posted a bunch of stuff from Newport, a bunch of great storylines. This one presented without audio because I can't put that on YouTube or else I'll also get taken down, but here's a couple quick clips of the debut of Sara and Allie. First starts off with an absolute bounce, and that's against Rebecca and Carol. That was a 3-set match with Rebecca and Carol. Pound for pound, probably the second best Brazilian team, and Allie and Sara take them to 3 sets and narrowly losing that 3rd set. Just block after block for Allie. Another block there. A monster block. So Allie was spectacular, honestly. When you talk about an indoor player coming out to the beach, having her first opportunity at playing at the highest level. She played in the Hermosa Beach Open, but not with Sara. Came out of the qualifiers, but didn't last long in that main draw. And Allie and Sara were excellent. And there they played Therese and Megan, lost to Therese and Megan, but also in 3. And then they won their only pool play match. Their only pool play win was against Corinne Quiggle and Chloe Lorene, who have been spectacular this year, who just came off a challenge gold medal in Veracruz just a couple of weeks ago. So Sara and Allie right there, I say, strongest 0-2 debut of all time. That was before they played their first match. Sara and Allie were absolutely spectacular. And so Allie Batenhorst, indoor player, played in Nebraska, played professionally indoors here in America. Came out to the beach. We found that out a few months ago. Of course, Sara Hughes coming off that Achilles injury, announced over the winter. And nobody works harder than Sara Hughes, and the work is obvious. You expected Sara to be a step slow. You expected Sara to look a little gimpy. You expected Sara to just look a little hobbled out there coming off an injury in her first tournament back from a big injury, and she looked none of those things. And one of the things that I wanted to bring up here tonight is, and I don't know if it was because she's been playing behind the block of Kelly Chang over the last couple of years, but I think I had undervalued Sara Hughes over the last few years. And I'm here to tell you right now that I am slapping myself on the wrist from that one. Bad Chris, bad volleyball fan. You underappreciated the defense that is Sara Hughes. She's been spectacular, and she was spectacular in this tournament, and she has been spectacular for a few years now. One of the USA's best defenders, and the fact that she has re-entered the conversation as far as the Women's Federation on the United States side is absolutely ridiculous. We had 4 teams already that were high level, can compete at the highest stage. You just saw our 4th best team in a gold medal match in an elite event. And now you have a new team entering that conversation that's going to be a player. They're going to be around, they're going to contend, and it's only a matter of time. Already in this tournament here, they just barely, narrowly missed out on making the round of 12, just on a percentage points there on point diff. But Allie and Sara have to be thrilled with that performance. And Allie, for an indoor player to come out to the sand, you expect them to have trouble passing. Expect them to have trouble in the serve-receive game. You expect them to have trouble hand setting, for example. In my mind, you expect them to have trouble with the little touches around the net and an out-of-system play. And really, Allie looked very composed to me. They're going to go through some struggles. There's going to be a learning curve there. Once there's a book written on her and people start to see her a little more, she's going to have to continue to improve and progress. But I would say this, as far as the debut goes, just a spectacular debut there for Sara Hughes and Allie Batenhorst, and just a sign that the U.S., the Federation in the United States on the women's side just continues to get stronger and stronger. And the rest of the world just continues to look at the United States and say, man, it's just a beach volleyball powerhouse at the moment. The same cannot be said, unfortunately, on the men's side. So let's take a look. We'll turn our attention here to the men's results. And United States had a pretty deep lineup, I would say. I mean, not as deep certainly as the women's side, but you had Miles Partain, Andy Benish, you had Chase Buttinger, Miles Evans in there, you had Kame Schock and James Shaw in there. You had a bunch of teams in the qualifiers: Tim Brewster, Ryan Ierna, Wyatt Harrison, Cody Caldwell, Evan Corey, Derek Bradford, Hagen Smith, Logan Weber, all in there. And of course, the wild card goes to the United States. Guess who? Of course, you know by now, Trevor Crabb and Taylor Crabb. And so I posted this meme here a couple of days ago, and it got some pretty good results. And this was on the heels of a couple of days of Taylor and Trevor just putting on an absolute show. And that started with a pool play matchup versus Latvia.
USA still in the game. Good serve. Might have been going wide. Plavins plays it. This time they hold their ground, and this time they get the touch, but not the point. Transition once again goes begging until then. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. The rally to end all rallies in this match brings USA back on level terms. This is quite stunning.
So Taylor and Trevor beat Folkerotz and Plavins in pool play there. Just a pretty big upset against a very good Latvian team. A Latvian team that is definitely the number one Latvian team on the men's side. Plavins has been doing it at the highest level for a very long time. Folkerotz, just a youngster. I think 18, 19 years old there, and not happy with his partner on the call there that allowed Taylor Crabb to get that block. So Taylor and Taylor come out in pool. First of all, they get the wild card, so they're straight into the main draw there. The USA is able to give one team on the men's side, one team on the women's side, so they go Ali and Sara on the women's side, proved correct there. They go Taylor and Trevor, proved correct here. So they beat Latvia, they lose to Evandro and Arthur. And then the third match of theirs in pool play for Taylor and Trevor was the Spanish team, Gavira and Huerta. So Taylor and Trevor end up getting 2 wins in pool play and end up advancing to the round of 12. So we get to the round of 12, and we have 4 USA teams in the round of 12. So that's Taylor and Trevor. That's Miles Partain, Andy Benish. That's Chase Buttinger and Miles Evans. That's Cam Schock and James Shaw. So we put together the USA parlay. We put just a little bit of money on it, not a lot of money on it, because you're not going to win a 4-leg parlay most of the time. And you're also probably not going to win a 4-leg parlay at the moment if you're betting on 4 USA men's teams. And I'm sorry to say that, but it's definitely the case right now. So Taylor and Trevor, the only ones of those 4 USA teams to make it out of that round of 12. The only ones. So they make it out of the round of the 12 and have a quarterfinal matchup with a German team in Ehrensen-Wickler that surprised the world in beating Norway in a semifinals in the Olympics in Paris last summer to make it to a gold medal match against Amman and Helvig of Sweden. Ended up losing that gold medal match, took a silver in the Olympics. Ehrensen-Wickler have been a top, I don't know what you want to call it, 6, 7 team in the world now for 5, 6 years, something like that. An absolutely spectacular team, strong team. And I'm DMing back and forth with one of the Bet the Beach followers here, and my guy goes, I've tailed you on the parlay, bubbed it, lost, but I got to ride with the Crabs. I mean, how do you not ride with the Crabs after that huge win in the round of 12? And I said, all right, let's ride it. I think I got him at plus 220 to beat Germany money line, just a long shot of a bet. And then Taylor and Trevor come out and they beat Germany. They beat Germany. And that was a match that was fun. I mean, Clemens Wickler talking a little to Taylor and Trevor early on there. Then what happens? Clemens Wickler gets a net on a set. Trevor shouts it out in the middle of the point. Clemens Wickler has some words with him afterwards. Trevor walks over to the ref stand because the ref's getting into it. And Clemens Wickler ends up getting the yellow card for bringing Trevor into it. You get the thumbs up by Trevor. You get the too small from Taylor Crabb on Niels Ehlers, which Taylor gets the block on Niels Ehlers. And Taylor and Trevor were the story of the tournament. And the thing that we need to recognize here is a couple of things. First of all, Taylor and Trevor haven't played together in about 10 years, really. I mean, they played Norseka a couple months ago, and I'm sure they've played some one-off tournaments here and there together. But for the most part, they haven't played together in almost 10 years. So they haven't played together competitively at that level in a very long time. Trevor hasn't played internationally in about a year, a little bit over a year now, since probably the last run with Theo Brunner there, which would have been 2024, like late summer. Ostrava, probably 2024 would have been his last tournament. Taylor hasn't played for real internationally since 2021, since Jake Gibb, really. Played a little bit with Taylor Sander in the beginning there, but really hasn't played in earnest internationally. Won, I think, a challenge tournament with Paul Lotman a year or two ago. So 2 guys that haven't been playing at the highest level, haven't played together in 10 years, get together and win a quarterfinal match against a top 6 or 7 team in the world, Niels Ehlers and Clemens Wickler, make it to the semifinals, end up losing the semifinals to Sharif and Ahmed, and then end up losing to the Grimalts of Chile in the bronze medal match, Marco and Esteban Grimalt, and end up taking a 4th place finish. So I made the meme, as you see there, Crabb Brothers, USA Beach fans, every other team. And it's really truth, because people are enamored with the Crabs because, one, they're entertaining, and two, they're spectacular at beach volleyball. And I think Travis and Tri talked about it a little bit earlier today, in that people are clamoring for them to now make a run for the Olympics. And I'm not sure that that's really the storyline to take away from this. But I think what the storyline to take away from this is every other USA men's team, right? So Miles Partain and Andy Benish have been the best team in the United States now, going back to 2023. Probably spring of 2023 is when they came on the scene. They had that great summer in 2023, which launched them into, like, just locked up an Olympic berth for 2024. They end up taking a 5th place finish, I believe, in the Olympics. Either 5th or in 9th. Did Miles Partain and Andy Benish. And since then, the results have not been what we would expect. And where it's two different stories here with the top 2 USA men's teams. Because you got Chase Budinger, Miles Evans, second best team, second team qualified for the Olympics. And Chase and Miles have continued to get better over the course of the last 3 or 4 years. And they're a team right now that is best defined as the sum is greater than the parts. 2 + 2 = 5 with Chase Budinger and Miles Evans. 2 guys that work incredibly hard, that continue to grind, that continue to get better, and the sum's greater than the parts. And what's so frustrating about Miles Evans and Chase, what's so frustrating about Miles Partain and Andy Benish is that right now the sum is less than the parts. 2 + 2 = 3 there with Miles Partain and Andy Benish. And Andy Benish is the best blocker in the United States right now, and it's not really particularly that close. And Miles Partain is a gifted defender. Indoor setter, has got all the skills, can jump set, got beautiful hands, got a good arm swing. Can option the ball, can jump set. Very talented player, very heady player, thinks a lot about what he's doing. And they have not gotten the results this year. And whether or not that's just down year and they need to work through it, or whether or not this is a sign that this is a partnership that might need to get shaken up a little bit, Miles Partain and Andy Benish have not been good. And they have struggled this year, and they continue to struggle here, getting knocked out in the round of 12 here, against a team that Taylor and Trevor had already beaten in the tournament in Folker Rhodes and Plavins. So Miles Partain and Andy Benish are struggling, and Chase Budinger and Miles Evans have been great. But again, in my mind, them at their best is not in that conversation of probably top 10 best teams in the world. And so I posed the question to Tri and Travis in this latest episode of Sandcast: is the U.S. men's field as shallow as it's ever been, where we have 2 teams qualified for world champs out of 4, Chase, Miles, Andy. Cayman James on the outside looking in, they'll probably end up sneaking in, according to Travis, via some visa problems, or one team's probably going to drop and Cayman James are the first on the list. But in my mind, that's not qualifying, that's just sneaking in, right? So the USA qualifies 2 teams for world champs at the least. That's the smallest number that the United States has ever qualified, dating back to when world champs kind of officially started in 1997. Even if Cayman James get in and you want to call that qualifying, which I wouldn't, that's 3 teams out of the 4 possible, and that's tied for the least that the USA has ever qualified. Tri and Travis brought up another really good point. Over the course of the 2025 season, 2 medals for the United States and the Beach Pro Tour. You have a bronze for Cayman James in Quintana Roo, Mexico at the beginning of the season, and you have a silver for Chase and Miles just a couple weeks ago in Veracruz. Only 2 medals for the United States. It is no question that the United States men's field is as shallow as it's ever been, and look no further than Taylor and Trevor getting together in a one-off for the first time in 10 years and making it all the way to a bronze medal match there. So it's a problem. And I'll say this, too. You want to go back, so really the line of demarcation here is the 2020-2021 Olympics in Tokyo, because that's the last Olympics that Phil Dahlhauser plays in. That's the last Olympics that Jake Gibb plays in, right? So you go back 4 Olympics from there, and who's in the Olympics every single year for 4 straight Olympics. It's Phil Dahlhauser and Jake Gibb. So there was a period there of 12 years plus 2 qualifying years in the front end. So call it like 14, 15 years where Phil and Jake were just in the Olympics every year. So I think we look back at that 15-year period and you say, boy, the USA was good, solid. We were competing at the highest level. Well, sure, we were. We absolutely were. I mean, Phil gets the gold medal there, and, Jake contends at the highest level for many, many, many years. And we had a third team in Hayden and Tri Bourne challenging for a lot of those years. We had Tri Bourne and Trevor Crabb challenging for that third Olympic spot. So the field was deep, but it was headlined by Phil Dahlhauser and Jake Gibb, right? So who is that person in the United States right now? It doesn't really exist. And if you had to come up with 2 names, it'd be the 2 Crabb brothers. It'd be Trevor and Taylor, right? And they haven't been in the mix internationally now for a couple of years. So I think we because they haven't been in the mix, and because the fall off, just a precipitous drop off from Phil and Jake to what we have now, it all adds up into a situation where I think we're all a little uneasy about where we are right now as a federation on the men's side. So I posed the question, and Travis and Tri said, yeah, it absolutely is. And Travis said, how do you fix it? And Tri did not have much of an answer. What is the answer? Do any of us have an answer to that? I mean, you look at the women's side, and the women's side is so deep and so strong because of NCAA Division I beach volleyball. And women's Division I beach volleyball is going to continue to survive, thrive, and grow because it's a major financial Title IX offset for these colleges that have big men's college football programs. And I think I'd posed the question to Travis way back when, and I said, when will men's D1 beach volleyball become a thing? And he goes, once Title IX goes away, which is never going to happen. So does the NIL change that a little? Maybe, possibly. But for the time being, at least in the near future, we can't expect it to. So in that case, how does the United States Men's Federation get back to a point where we are able to compete at the highest level? Because right now I don't have any faith that any of our teams can medal in world championships. If one of our teams made it to a quarterfinal, I think that'd be a spectacular result. I think we'd all be happy with that. But I don't expect it, honestly. I really, really don't. So there's going to be a lot of talk over the next 6 months, year and a half, until we get to Olympic qualification starting again, about what the United States Men's Federation needs to do in order to get back into that conversation. And I think, shuffling partners helps, right? And you got some young guys coming up, some young big blockers in James Shaw, in Derek Bradford. You can put Andy Bennett on that list too. Got some young big blockers that I think have the ability to compete at the highest level here. And so you're going to want to play that game where you say, put this guy with this guy, this guy with this guy, this guy with this guy. I think the larger conversation here is that the USA needs to do a much better job developing beach volleyball players. And whether that's pulling guys from indoor, doing a better job of compensating indoor players to come out to the beach, whether that's USA Beach and USA Volleyball, indoor volleyball, getting together and figuring out a plan to collaboratively grow both sides of the volleyball sport domestically. I'm not sure what the answer is. I don't have the answers. I'd love to hear what your answers are. 978-254-1707, 978-254-1707. Let me know what your thoughts are there, because it's a tough watch right now. And Newport was so much fun because we had Taylor and Trevor in the mix, and we had Taylor and Trevor competing at the highest level. So will those 2 guys make a run at the Olympics in 2028? Not sure. I think probably they both will. They're 2 guys that deserve to represent their country at the highest level. But we got a long way to go there. We got a world champs this year. We're going to have 2 men's teams, maybe a third, and we don't really have a strong medal contender in a lot of them. So I think it's something we need to, as a country, as a federation, take a look at and figure out how we can help grow the men's program, because the women's program is only going to get better and better. And the women's program got stronger and stronger and deeper, and on the men's side, we have fallen way, way behind. We were once a powerhouse, and we are not a powerhouse at all right now. And I'll end that with just a replay of a very viral clip that I posted on the internet from Newport. And it's the final point of the round of 12 match between James Shaw, and the Grimalt cousins, Marco and Esteban.
With a serve.
Sorry, Norway.
High in the middle.
Molenberg.
Oh, it's a massive block! It's a huge block for Norway. Frustrations showing for USA.
So, frustrating moment there for Cam Shaka and James Shaw as they lose to Norway there in the round of 12. Sorry, that wasn't Grimalt. That was Mole and Bernsen, Norway's second team. But a frustrating result for Cam and James. A frustrating last few months, I think, for Cam and James. And just add them to that conversation about kind of underperforming USA men's teams and where do we go from here. And I think it's not a quick answer, it's not an easy answer, and I think we're going to have to be patient with it, but I would like to see some sort of progress here as we head towards next season because in my mind on the men's side, a fifth or a ninth place finish for a USA men's team would be a win. And I'd like to get to the point where we can at least think about competing to get on a podium there on the men's side. So I think that is everything that I wanted to get to today. Yep, it is. So we talked about Newport. We got World Champs coming up here. So we got World Champs mega coverage coming up here in a few weeks. We'll do a World Champs preview. We'll do a World Champs, throughout the middle of it. We'll do all sorts of live stream stuff like that. Any kind of content you want, let me know. Shoot me a DM. And I'll certainly do that kind of coverage for you. Next week coming up here on the program. Next week right here on Bet the Beach. YouTube, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific. It's a conversation with a beach pro. It's a great conversation, long-ranging. Talked his path to the league. We talked AVP League and his thoughts on it. We talked Beach Pro Tour. Lots and lots of good volleyball talk. It's our first interview with a beach pro here on the program. Next week, 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific, on the Bet the Beach YouTube channel, a conversation with a beach pro. So with that, I will leave you. I will say thank you for joining me as always, and we will catch you next Wednesday right here on the Bet the Beach Show on YouTube. See ya.
Wake up, sunshine, let's go play. Beach volleyball is the way. Sand in my toes, sky so blue. Fun in the sun, just me and you. All around and we reach for the sky. Surfs up and laughter's in the breeze. Join the podcast if you please. Having in, watch us fly. Under the sun we feel so high. Spike and surf, hear the cheer. Every day is summer here. Sunshine, let's go play. Beach volleyball is the way. Sand in my toes, sky so blue. Fun in the sun, just me and you. Bounce on the beach, set the ball high. Smiles all around and we reach for the sky. Surfs up and laughter's in the breeze. Join the podcast if you please. Dive and dig, watch us fly. Under the sun we feel so high. Spike and surf, hear the cheer. Every day is summer here. Dig, watch us fly. Under the sun we feel so high. Spike and surf, hear the cheer. Every day is summer here.